Hello and welcome to a special episode of the Two-Shot Factor. Omicron 22. Welcome. We've been away for a little while from the Two-Shot Factor. Various things have happened. There's still pine needles all over the floor. Omicron, though, cases soaring. They keep using that. Soaring. It's dangerous, and what are we going to do about it? They admit on the study the case rates of vaxxed are higher. Fully vaccinated people have accounted for 79% of the cases over the last week and 65.5% of hospitalizations. But they want to assure you that the unvaccinated still make up the bulk of the numbers, and apparently the per capita rate. Let's see. Per capita basis, data says that unvaccinated continue to be disproportionately affected by severe COVID outcomes. Now, there are a lot of people still learning about the term endemic, but endemic is not epidemic or pandemic. That means a regular annual thing like the flu or the cold. Speaking of the flu, if you've heard about this thing, Flurona, it's just pitiful. We've got comments about it. They're not fooling anyone with this. Like, how did it take so long for the flu to combine with corona? After this much time and this many billions of people, finally this happens, 2 years. Okay, Carlos, run the comments.
Comments. Do we even care about the post? Hell no. It's all about the comments. You wanna mess around, little bitch? I'll type you out cold and steal your Instagram followers in a single type session.
I have the super duper variant. I am immune to all.
The prominent strain right now is the sheep strain.
Flurona is what is called in the microbial world mutualism, where two microbes work together. When their circadian cycle momentums merge and reach a terminal velocity, you get parasitism, a new superbug.
Wow. I'm impressed about the confidence regarding the medium-long-term efficacy of the vaccine. Can you tell me how many doses are needed to maintain medium-long-term protection?
This is what happens when they know everyone knows the variants are total BS, so they get desperate.
Now, if we look at the BC CDC COVID-19 epidemiology app, that's a mouthful, we can see the different regions. The Fraser Health is still leading. That's Surrey. Let's take a look here at this big spike we see. That's Omicron. Well, I mean, some of these could be Delta. Mind you, didn't we just get vaccinated a whole bunch of times? Yeah, we did. We sure did get vaccinated. COVID cases eclipsing records set in April of 2021. They're above 500, now above 600. We're just ending the weekend, so new studies are going to be coming in any moment. There's going to be all kinds of crazy new numbers. We just can't wait to see those numbers, right? That's all we think about. Omicron deaths are actually lower despite cases being the highest. Interesting, if we look here, yeah, look here. See how there's a giant spike in all the regions through BC, and I imagine it's like that everywhere else. But see how the red line on the bottom? That's the death rate. That's the deaths. This is deaths. It hasn't changed though. In fact, it looks like it's getting lower. Actually a little bit of a tiny raise in some. Yeah, but it was a lot higher before. And like, look at Northern Health. It was crazy there back in the when is that there? That's September, October, November. And as winter's gone, it's just gone down and down, yet the case number has gone way up. It's almost like when we had the cold. Remember when you got a cold and your grandma or your friend or your cousin would say like, oh yeah, I'm really sick. This one's really bad. Or everyone's getting it. Yes, I understand. People were saying in 2020 about, yeah, we're social distancing. That's why not as many people are getting it. But I mean, I see people starting to take off masks in stores. They're not enforcing it as much. The 6-foot distancing isn't happening as much. People are starting to put their foot down at businesses like this gym in Kelowna. They're signing petitions. They won't close down. There's restaurants. They're not going without a fight. And the rules just keep coming.
Guys, they're closing us. What do you guys think?
The only reason we are present here today is to ensure that you people are safe and that they are safe.
The owners of the gym were served a $2,500 fine and ordered on paper to close yet again, but the gym remains defiant.
At some point, we all need to stand up and say enough's enough. So that's what we're doing here. We're standing up. And even if they're trying to make an example out of us, they're going to have to drag me out of here in cuffs if they want to get me out of my gym, because we are staying open.
Truck drivers, you gotta be vaccinated in Canada. If not, then you gotta wait for a quarantine and PCR test result. A bit of a holdup, a lot of a holdup, considering you gotta get food across a border or somewhere. You gotta go across, you know. But in the States, this is like do or die. They're gonna turn you back. And these people are saying, well, I thought that it looks like Ottawa is going back on its word, but they refuted that because Justin Trudeau probably said something along the lines of, my good Canadian friends, people got colds more, like this, like these high numbers. Everyone got sick. Natural immunity is better.
Are you familiar with an Israeli study that had 2.5 million patients and found that the vaccinated group was actually 7 times more likely to get infected with COVID than the people who had gotten COVID naturally?
Senator, I'd have to get back to you on that one. I'm not familiar with that study.
Well, you know what? It looks like my immunity is as good as a vaccine or not. And in a free country, maybe I ought to be able to make that decision. Instead, you've chosen to travel the country calling people like Jonathan Isaac and others, myself included, flat earthers.
What did that vaccination do? The vaccination saved a whole bunch of people. Did it? Well, all of a sudden we've got this new Omicron and it doesn't seem to be working. And they're saying that they may not have, in time for this wave, an Omicron-specific vaccine prepared. Okay. So we're going to have to tough it out. Boo-hoo. But in the same report, we read that less than half of BC's under 12 population, that's the 5 to 11-year-olds. So many parents were disgusted by this. But then again, 44% have been vaccinated. It's actually pretty crazy because throughout most of BC, aside from the Vancouver coastal area, like Vancouver, your liberal region, you've got about like 11 or 12%. No one's getting it except the few people who are believing this stuff. They voted for Trudeau and they're scaredy cats, right? Meanwhile, in Vancouver, it's like 80%. I understand it's a city and there's a much more population cluster. There are some obvious different dangers of close proximity, but at the same time, everybody's liberal down there. Does this strike you as coincidental? Oh man, these people have been brainwashed. They just said the vaccine is pretty much useless. Everyone's getting sick. Nobody's dying. Quebec says nobody cares about Quebec. They got liquor prices there that would get you through to next tomorrow. Total number of confirmed cases, 293,000 and something. Active, you got 35,000, basically 36,000. New cases, 2,200. Total deaths, 2,400. 6 new deaths. I just read 7 somewhere else, so there's another one of those continuity errors. COVID-19 update for January 15-16. This is new. Hospitalization in BC kids rising with Omicron. You say Omicron, I say zero-micron. Zero. Because it's not frightening. If we look here at death certificates, this link will take you to a spot where in California, Los Angeles County, actually, population of 10 million or so, they had a rule where I think it was anyone who tested positive for COVID in the last 90 days who died with any type of health-related incident was ruled a COVID death. I think it was 60 days in the whole state of Oregon. If you had tested positive for COVID, if you died with anything, they just ruled that COVID. It kind of baffles your mind to think about that, how they're dramatizing this whole thing and trying to boost sales of Pfizer like that. Think about it. How many deaths weren't really COVID? Or when they talked about COVID deaths a long time ago, then they said died from complications due to COVID or died from COVID-related illnesses. It's interesting how they strategize like that because they were getting probably, things like this where people pointed out their little technical errors, just a little technical error. How many thousands, how many tens of thousands died from something that might have not been even really COVID related other than that they had COVID? You got these free vaccines. And remember they're free, of course. Actually, Paul Rand, I believe, a Kentucky Republican senator, said that, they're not really free. We're all paying for them. You notice all these strange price increases? These strange price increases. Gas prices, food prices. There's all kinds of things that you need that are slowly going up. Just a little bit, not like we can talk about them. We're going to feel it.
Guess who pays for all those millions of COVID-19 vaccines? Who will pay for all this? In fact, who's paid for all the COVID-19 fighting to date? As I'm sure you've noticed, vaccines are 100% free. But nothing's really free, right? The simple answer is that mostly, we pay, or rather, the government does through our tax dollars, though insurance companies and hospitals have also been assuming some costs. Following that money as it wends its way through the system is far less simple though, and it also raises the question of who owns the rights to the vaccines, and what's a fair rate of return for a product that was funded to a large degree by public dollars. Then there's the matter of what the obligations these companies have when it comes to providing vaccines not only to US citizens, but to the rest of the world. Vaccine funding takes several forms. For instance, there's BARDA, Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority. BARDA has given US medical companies billions of dollars for vaccine research. Once COVID-19 hit, however, government spending went into overdrive. This BARDA website maps out the vast sums the government has put out to fight the pandemic. The Globe story also notes that in exchange for assuming the risk of developing the vaccine, Pfizer charged the government more for each dose in its initial contract, about $19.50, compared with $15 a dose on average charged by Moderna, and the proof is in the stock chart. Since March 1, 2020, Pfizer is up a tidy 70%, but that pales compared to Moderna mRNA, which is up over 1,100%. Moderna CEO Bansel's 7.9% stake in the company is now worth $11.2 billion. Wow.
Maybe they're slowly raising those prices so they get their money back. These vaccinations aren't free. I'm telling you. Listen carefully. In fact, and I'm just estimating with this, a BC report, Canadian report, but BC was apparently the hardest hit. Go figure. Vancouver's a pretty expensive place to live. You heard about this? You seen this? 2019, the report came out of Dalhousie University. That's where the study was conducted, about how much, I think it was like $500 extra for an average 4-person family on grocery prices in BC. Like 400 plus in other places, but 500 for BC. And it's interesting that COVID hit just after this.
We'll all be paying a lot more for food next year, says Canada's food price report. Sky-high food prices were one of many negative impacts that Canadians felt during the pandemic-plagued year of 2021. And a new report suggests that problem is only going to get worse next year. As with everything else, supply chain issues caused by the COVID-19 pandemic wreaked havoc on food prices and availability. In the coming year, Charlebois says food price inflation is on track to be higher, with a likely increase of between 5 and 7%, or an extra $966 a year for the typical family grocery bill. It's the highest increase that we're predicting in 12 years, both in terms of dollars and percentage, Charlebois said. It's not going to be easy, although meat is only rising by 0 to 2%. Other groups such as bakery and vegetables could rise by 7%, and dairy as high as 8%. Although weather seems like a logical reason for price increase, one which looks somewhat suspicious is the apparent growing cost of food waste. More than half of all the food produced in Canada gets thrown out, research suggests, and that inefficiency is finally starting to show up at the cash register at a time when Canadians are counting their pennies more than ever.
So it's like, well, you were already ready for price increase anyway. It's almost like they knew ahead of time, which ties into all kinds of, theories on how COVID was already here. In fact, we've got footage of a guy interviewed who had pneumonia, a mysterious pneumonia, doesn't know how he got it, on January 26th in Abbotsford, British Columbia. January 26th of 2020. 2 days before the first confirmed case from a guy from Wuhan. Remember, it was like a good 2 months. I don't have the exact numbers, but it was quite a while. Every single case that we got around here, and there weren't too many, and they were all from Wuhan, China. I don't know how they were getting in and out of this place. It's like we wanted to get sick or something.
Okay. Wait, how about this one?
What are your health problems?
Said, what are your health problems? Okay, how about this one?
What's my health problems?
What are your health problems? There's just
I got 2 hernias and they canceled my surgery and I got some kind of pneumonia or something.
Right now?
Yeah.
I don't want pneumonia.
I don't know what it is, but...
Are you serious?
It's horrible, man.
Okay, I don't want pneumonia.
I don't know where I got it from. I don't know if it was from just being around too many people that are sick downtown or what.
Gee. This white guy somehow had pneumonia. Remember, it wasn't COVID then. There was no COVID. It was a coronavirus. A pneumonia caused by a novel coronavirus. In fact, at first it was just pneumonia. Then they isolated to coronavirus. Then it went to COVID. That's some history for you. Vaccinated people are getting most of the cases. We knew that vaccinated people, obviously, who brought Omicron, they were traveling on planes that unvaccinated people weren't allowed to be on. And yet they still try to assure you the vaccinated people have made the right choice. Don't worry about it. Most of the cases are still, don't worry about it. Most of them are still like, you got nothing to worry about. Biden's an idiot. Where is he right now? Is he sleeping in the basement? Someone should just put a trombone in his ear and get him up. Hey, Biden, it's me, Corn Pop. Earlier Thursday, the province cut the wait time for pregnant people to get a booster off COVID down to 8 weeks after their second dose from the previous 6 months. We're going to talk now to Dr. Chan. Can we get Dr. Chan? We're going to get back to that. Nearly 30% of BC have had 3 shots. Derek, 3 shot. Derek, 4 shot. The PCP testing is rationed to at-risk groups, and BC's testing system is at capacity. Officials have concluded daily case numbers do not reflect the true spread of the virus, so there's probably more than we actually know about. But if the death rates, well, the death numbers are lower, the death rates are considerably lower, then that means the rates are even lower based on numbers of cases that we don't know about. Yet, and the same time, they still, as they said about Omicron-specific vaccines not being available for this wave, we might have to tough it out. They still want to vaccinate 5 to 11-year-olds, and they're trying everything they can. They've got the hotline to make you not afraid of needles. Make sure to subscribe and watch the 2-Shot Factor more. Well, my channel, this show doesn't come on very often because we can't afford the news studio. In fact, I'm already being motioned by Carlos that thugs are coming. We got to get out of here. Make sure to, I hope you learned a lot.